Illegal aliens who commit crimes must not be released into our communities. Our colleagues can't even use the term of art that's in the statute, illegal alien. They can't even use that.
This is a great boon to those for-profit detention companies who make enormous profits from mandatory detention.
Well, the Laken Riley Act passed today in the House, named, of course, for the woman who died in Georgia, February 2024, at the hands, authorities say, of an illegal immigrant. That passed 264 to 159, 48 House Democrats. It requires federal detention for illegal immigrants guilty of theft crimes. Senate action on that bill is now pending. It's time for our Common Ground segment. Joining us to talk about the Laken Riley Act and other things, Alabama Republican Senator Katie Britt and Pennsylvania Democratic Senator John Fetterman. Thank you both for being here again in Common Ground. Why is this important, and how confident are you about the Senate action here?
Yeah, so I think we've seen this litigated over the last 4 years, time and time again. And I think on November 5th, the American people delivered a verdict and said, we want secure borders. We want you to prioritize the safety and security of Americans over open border policies. And so this is a common sense piece of legislation, obviously named after a remarkable young woman that was taken from this earth way too soon. And I think that the bipartisan support that you saw in the House, I am really hopeful will carry on into the Senate. And we're already seeing good traction from our Senate colleagues interested in coming on board.
Senator Fetterman, there are Democrats, obviously, who spoke out against this today. One of them, Congressman Raskin. Take a listen.
Pick a crime, paste into it a template immigration law covering convicted criminals, and then require detention or deportation of certain persons merely accused of committing the crime or arrested for committing the crime. No due process required at all. This allows us to get up and demonize immigrants.
So what do you say to that? You've signed on to this bill.
Oh, well, I mean, I have a lot of enormous respect for my colleague in the House, but I just happen to disagree on this. And for me, just like my friend and colleague in the Senate, like, it's really common sense. And I'd like to remind everybody that we have hundreds and hundreds of thousands of migrants here illegally that have convicted of crimes. And why, I don't know why, who wants to defend that, to allow them to remain in our nation after that? And now, if you're here illegally and you're committing crimes and those things, I don't know why anybody thinks that it's controversial that they all need to go.
Do you think that this was one of, if not the biggest issue for this election?
Well, I think if we can't, there's 47 of us in the Senate, and if we can't pull up with 7 votes, if we can't get at least 7 out of 47, and if we can't, then that's the reason why we lost. That's one of them. That's one of why we lost, in part.
Go ahead.
Brett, if you think about that, I mean, that's what he's saying, needing the 7 votes to be able to debate this bill. And I think the American people have already answered that question. They have said, we want you to find ways to have common sense bipartisan solutions to help us secure our border and keep our country and communities safe. And so I'm hopeful that our colleagues will come together and say, let's talk about this.
Well, I mean, I've been in this same chair, and I was arguing about a year ago saying that, you can be pro-immigration, but we need a secure border. And we have a serious issue here on the border, and we have to address that. And here we have now, we can be pro-immigration. And I really believe we should protect the dreamers. But I don't know why it's controversial that we need to deport any migrants here illegal that are engaging in kinds of criminal activity. I don't know why that's controversial to anybody.
So this starts, if the Senate passes and it gets eventually to the president's desk, a process on the immigration, but on the bigger, broader economic aspects of it, which would require funding, there is this debate of whether to have one big, beautiful bill, as President-elect Trump says, or whether to have 2 bills to go at it. Do you have a sense of how that's going to go?
So obviously we've seen that the president talked about one big, beautiful bill, and at the end of the day, we're going to do whatever it takes to produce results for the American people. There's a lot that we've got to do when you're looking at the border, when you're looking at energy, when you're looking at creating a strong defense, and when you're looking at creating economic prosperity for all Americans. And so whatever road gets us to that result is the one that we're going to take. We're excited tomorrow night. Senate Republicans will get to visit with President Trump, and we'll get to talk about the best pathway forward. And I think we're all eager to get working and to actually produce results for the American people.
Senator Fetterman, You've met with a number of nominees already. You've suggested...
just did one of your former colleagues here just about 3 hours ago.
Is that right?
Sean Duffy, actually.
Oh, Sean Duffy.
Yeah.
Senator Warner, the chair of the, co-chair of the Senate Intelligence Committee, met with Tulsi Gabbard. He said he had a session with Ms. Gabbard. He went on with a lot of questions. He's still got a lot of questions, and that we have to do a process, a beginning of a process, suggesting that there's a long way to go. Is this Tulsi Gabbard one of the nominees that you could vote for?
Well, I met with her. In fact, I think I've met with virtually all of them. And the ones that I haven't, they're on my schedule, RFK and Governor Noem. So I'm happy to meet with all of them. And that's also part of this. I don't know why that was controversial. I mean, I got a lot of blowback just, even to meet with them. And to me, I see that as just doing my job. And I'm going to have a conversation with anyone that would like to have a conversation with me. And if someone believed everything that's been written or said about me was true, I mean, you can't possibly know me, or I think I could know her either, just based on someone read. But I want to sit down and have a conversation, and I'm really glad that I've done that. And some of these nominees I'm going to vote for already. In fact, whether it's our colleague Rubio, our Representative Stefanik, or even Sean Duffy, I expect to vote for him as well too, and Brooke Rollins for agriculture. Yeah. So there's a lot of them I can say right now here on Fox. I'm going to vote for them. But there's others, but that we're going to go through the process. But I'm open to hear from everyone, and I don't know why that's controversial. And I also would like to remind everyone on the Democratic side, that's the way democracy works. Trump won, and now they're going to run the table, and so they get to pick those kinds of people. And if you don't have to agree with all of it, but I want to find a way to work together on a bunch of them.
And I want to commend him on that, because that's the way it should be. Article 2, Section 2, sitting down, asking questions, understanding the vision, understanding what they want to do for the American people, and John giving them that shot, and they have to answer his questions, but that's the way that it should be done.
Let me ask you this about the press conference today. Obviously the American people voted on the issue of the economy, on the issue of immigration. Did you think that they were voting for taking over Panama or getting Greenland as a part of the U.S.?
So, Brett, what I think they did vote for is regaining American strength, that peace through strength, that respect in the world, that regaining our footing to where our allies respect us and our enemies fear us. They want to make sure that we get the hostages back in Gaza. They want to make sure that the Abraham Accords are not only there, but are expanded on. And they want us to regain our footing. And so that's what you saw today, was a reshaping of that, and an America starting to lead. And I think you'll see that from President Trump.
You think there'll be more of this part? Go ahead.
Can I talk about, there's a lot of talk about Greenland, for example. Now, and I know there's a lot of freakouts, and of course I would never support taking it by force. But I do think it's a responsible conversation if they were open to acquiring it, and whether just buying it outright. I mean, if anyone think that's bonkers, it's like, well, remember the Louisiana Purchase? Well, I think Alaska was a great deal too. $50 million, I think it was. It was referred to as Seward's Folly, and now that was Alaska now. So I mean, open to having all kinds of conversations as well. And now I don't think it's not helpful to freak out, but some things might work out, some may not. But that's part of an ongoing dialogue. But he hasn't even taken office in 2 weeks, and we really need to pace ourselves if we're going to freak out over every last tweet or every last conversation or press conference. But
that's good. That's a good one, John. I like it. I like it.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like we are here to work together. Yeah. And some things we can agree or disagree. But I think that's how DC works.
And you all have a great rapport. We saw it last time when you came on Common Ground. Do you think the 119th Congress is going to be more of trying to find that?
I hope so, and I hope the two of us can be a part of that. I mean, look, I think the people that elected us expect us, when we share a common goal with someone on the other side of the aisle, get in the room and figure it out. And there's a lot of things that we need to figure out for Americans, and so putting that first and figuring out how to work together to achieve that is essential.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, I like I said, I met with Sean Duffy, and privately he admitted that the Steelers is a lot better than the Packers. You know, I mean, like again, I don't.
And of course, I'm still with the Pats.
Yeah, no, I'm like, I agree with you, but we're going to find a lot to work together, you know, about infrastructure here in Pennsylvania and other. But regardless, so.
Well, thank you both for coming back. I appreciate it. You can see all the Common Ground segments on my podcast, Common Ground. Find that in the All-Star Panel podcast under the Bret Baier podcast at foxnewspodcast.com, Spotify, or wherever you download podcasts.